I'm Ric Edelman. When it comes to buying or refinancing a home, is bigger better? And if you always work and save, should you reward yourself? Maybe. Plus, Gene Edelman has her insights on moving forward in the face of adversity, in the other side of money. All that and so much more on this edition of The Truth About Money.
This program is funded in part by TD Ameritrade. At TD Ameritrade, we support investors and independent registered investment advisors every day, providing access to tools, research, and educational resources that help you pursue your goals with confidence.
I'm Ed Burns. I've spent a lot of time around cameras. However, I've never actually swallowed one before. Till now. It's a camera the size of a pill that lets your doctor see inside of you. That's kind of awesome.
Technology is evolving. We believe the way to invest should evolve as well. A prospectus is available at 1-800-iShares, which includes investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information that you should read and consider carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal.
I'm Ric Edelman, and the truth about money is that you need to have a balanced portfolio and a balanced life. The answer is not just simple, it's just dollars and cents.
Hey Rick, my name is Bob. I own my house free and clear. Inflation's gonna come about big time in the next few years. Why shouldn't I refinance my house, say about 3.5–4%, which also then becomes a tax deduction, and then when inflation comes big time, then I'll actually have additional income. Thank you.
Pretty sharp guy, Bob. I think I got a gig for you as host of this program. You're actually saying a lot of stuff that makes a lot of sense. Think about this. You've got a house. It's worth a couple of $100,000. It's fully paid for. The equity in that house is a dead asset. The fact that you own the house free and clear isn't helping you put food on the table. It's not helping you pay bills. It's not helping you buy prescriptions or travel or cover other costs. The fact that you own a home free and clear isn't doing you an awful lot of good from a lifestyle perspective. Oh, I know what you're saying. If you own the home free and clear, then you don't have a mortgage. But all that means is that your expenses are lower. It's not helping you pay those lower expenses. So Bob's really got a good idea in front of him. If you're trying to increase your income to support your lifestyle in retirement, a really good idea to consider is a mortgage. Think about it. You pull the money out of the house. Oh my goodness, you now have a big mortgage payment to deal with, but you've also got a big bucket of money. You use that bucket of money to make that mortgage payment, and the rest of the bucket of money is now available to help support your lifestyle. At today's historically low interest rates, with the tax deduction that's currently available on top of that, pulling money out of a mortgage in order to increase your cash reserves to support your lifestyle is often a really good idea. Does it make sense for you? Talk to a financial planner. A financial planner can help you figure out if, in fact, this idea is valid for your own situation. From a reality television show chef to one of America's most trusted film critics, we asked them just one question, Celebrity Edition. What's the one thing money can't buy?
Money can't always buy respect. You know, some people have lots of money and they're thought of as idiots. Don't do trashy television reality shows, things like that, because and don't make a fool of yourself if you're out there. Try to be dignified with it, you know. So money can't always buy you respect. Helps, but it can't always buy you respect.
Time. Time is the most valuable thing we have. Every minute of my life becomes more valuable because it's a limited resource and it has no acquisition fee associated with it. We learn to manage it, hopefully, and we learn to appreciate it and not waste it.
Time. Time is clearly the most valuable asset we have. If you could go back in time and talk to the younger you, who was just starting out in life, what would you say to you? Be smarter? Save earlier? Don't bet on the Cubs to win the World Series? I had the privilege recently of sitting down with a group of graduating seniors at Roger Williams University in Rhode Island to give them some perspective on preparing for their future.
There's more to life than money. And how would you suggest finding that balance? Would that be just pre-planning and maybe setting aside a smaller fund of you have X amount per month for those splurges and the rest of that money is all going toward your savings? Or do you suggest just cutting it altogether?
Either one is a great plan. If all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, and you don't want to be a miser, you don't want to be a hermit, you don't want to never have any fun in life, but there's a difference between having fun in life and spending indiscriminately and then waking up at the end of the month and discovering a massive credit card bill. So you need to recognize the importance of doing both so that you say to yourself, this is the amount of money I'm going to spend on this activity in this period of time, and when I've spent it, I'm done. See, Gene and I had a real opportunity that you don't have. Back when we were in our 20s, it was extraordinarily difficult for people in their early 20s to qualify for a credit card. And there was no such thing as an ATM. So every Friday afternoon, we had to go to the bank and take money out of the bank. And banks closed at 3 o'clock. And if we forgot to go to the bank or we got busy and didn't get to the bank by Friday at 3 and take out $50 for the weekend, we spent no money on the weekend because we didn't have the cash. Today, you don't have that forced discipline. Today, you have credit cards readily available to you. And you have ATMs. You ever run out of cash? Not a problem. You can go get more 24/7. And so it's easy for you to overspend because you'll be determined, I'm going to go to that restaurant, but I'm not going to spend more than X amount of money. We'll go to the bar, but I'm not going to spend more than X. We'll go to the movies. I'm not going to buy popcorn. And before you know it, because you just flashed the card, you discover that you've spent far more money than you wanted to. It's sort of like the person who says, I'm going to go on a diet. I'm not going to eat an entire box of donuts. Next thing you know, the donuts are gone. Our best intentions get in the way because we are creatures of emotion, not creatures of intellect at the end of the day. Impose self-discipline as much as possible. Leave the credit cards home. Have X amount of cash in your pocket, and when you're done spending it, you're done. Decide in advance what you are going to splurge on, and go ahead and splurge freely, willingly. But when you're done, you're done. And make sure that you've done that after you've allocated money to your savings programs, both short-term goals like a car and long-term goals like a house and retirement, so that you can then spend freely without guilt.
The stock market is called a leading economic indicator because A, it's one of the biggest parts of the economy, B, it's popular, C, it predicts future economic growth, or D, none of the above. We'll be right back with the answer.
Everybody knows those famous words from Chicken Little, the sky is falling. But it's possible the sky really could be falling. Oh, maybe not today or next week or even next year, but it could happen unless we know how to stop the sky from falling. And that's what we learn in this week's Future Finance segment, where scientists from the B612 Foundation are stepping in.
The B612 Foundation and the Sentinel mission are designed to look out into space and detect all of these objects that could represent a significant threat to the planet far enough in advance that you could go do something about it.
We like to think here on Earth that we're impervious to any outside influences. After all, there is no ET that we know of.
Right.
So we're not terribly worried about a foreign incursion. But in early 2013, we had 2 in a single day. We had a big asteroid that came in really close to Earth, closer than some of our satellites. And then we had that one that hit in Russia and got everybody worried about, oh my goodness, might an asteroid cause significant damage to our planet? That's home cooking to you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most people think that space is huge and that there's really no problem. Maybe that was in the past and killed the dinosaurs. But we know we're in a cosmic shooting gallery. And there are maybe 1 million asteroids from a few feet to miles across that are still circulating, left over from the formation of the solar system.
How many of them would you suggest might be a threat?
There's probably 100,000 or so that are in the range that could be a real threat. NASA has done a good job of mapping the ones that are, a mile or so and larger. Those are the dinosaur killers. And we know 90 to 95% of those, and there's several thousand of them. But the ones smaller than that, down to, let's say, 100 feet or even smaller, those could still represent a tsunami event. There was a terrific collision in 1908 in a place called Tunguska in Siberia, and it flattened an area the size of the San Francisco Bay. And those come around with some frequency.
So what's the point of knowing? For example, do I really want to know if there's nothing I can do about it?
Well, that's the thing. There is a lot you can do about it if you know far enough in advance. We don't need Bruce Willis to go out there with an atomic bomb.
That was a great movie.
But never get your physics from Hollywood, okay?
Do we have any concept of how likely it is this is going to actually occur in our lifetimes?
We have a statistical analysis. The chance that this happens is about 30% in, say, your lifetime. It turns out that that's not far from the chance you'll get cancer in your lifetime. So it's a relatively rare event, but it's not all that rare. Those are the ones that are, let's say, the size that flatten Siberia. The larger ones are more rare. So the idea of really studying these orbits and making a map of these things is to understand where they're going to be 50 or even 100 years in the future. If you've got that much warning, you can go out there with even a small spacecraft and give it just a little nudge and make it miss. The trick is now to make that map. Nobody has such a thing.
And how much would it cost to implement such a plan like that?
Yeah, we're estimating that the whole project would be around $450 million.
And is the funding coming from NASA at this point?
No, this is not actually in NASA's to-do list. What they focused on is ground-based observatories to look at these very large ones, the dinosaur killers, but they don't have a current program to look at the smaller ones. So that's why our private foundation stepped in. And we believe that this mission that we're promoting, that we're advocating, could be done for maybe 30% less than if NASA did it. Because we can use what's called commercial practice, a firm fixed price contract, and we can make decisions very quickly.
And is this something that is a US-based effort, or everyone in the world should have an equal interest in this? So are folks around the world participating in your efforts?
Yeah, this is really something that the entire world should care about. I mean, protecting the planet, protecting maybe not all civilization, but certainly individual areas if they were to be hit.
So what are you saying to students at Stanford, and what would you say to high school students who hope to go to Stanford or other universities? What are the subjects they should be studying these days?
It's always terrific if you're a student interested in science or technology to get a good grounding in the basics. I mean, the laws of physics and engineering practice is still fundamentally what it's been for a long time. But now what we're seeing is the intersection of science, engineering, business, and entrepreneurship. And I have many students over there who are really, really interested in this new area where you're putting these things together.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Why is the stock market called a leading economic indicator? The answer is C, because it predicts future economic growth.
Financial advisors like me work to help you build a better financial future. And each week, Anderson Wozni and Brandon Corso join me on the radio to help people find solutions to their money matters. Corey from Montana. Hi, Corey. How are you?
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. I have your DVD, 10 Great Reasons to Carry a Big Long Mortgage, and I've watched it a handful of times over those past 6 years. And every time I got to the end, I was always so excited about carrying a big long mortgage. But then your final line saying, but hang on, this is not an excuse to go get a huge house.
Right.
Instead, the secret is to get the cheapest house you can, but get the biggest mortgage on it, always got me. I thought, wait a minute, I don't understand that line. Finally, the other day, a light bulb went off, and I think I get it now, and I would like to confirm that with you.
Okay.
Okay, maybe what you meant is find a good deal on the home that you can afford. Where, for example, in Southern California, homes were super expensive in 2006. Now they're maybe a good deal. Is that kind of maybe what
I'm
you meant?
chomping at the bit to jump in front of you on this.
Go ahead,
Because,
Brandon.
Corey, what you said that is correct is what you can afford. Housing typically is the biggest expense we have. And so the worst thing people do is they buy a house that they can barely afford and they can't save any money.
Right.
So that's what we mean when we say control yourself. Don't get trapped into this house that you can barely afford and you can't save for everything else that matters in life.
And in addition to that, you must look at the house that is going to meet not only your current lifestyle needs, Corey, but your future expected lifestyle needs. In other words, if you buy a house now and you are not yet married and you don't yet have children, but you think both will occur in the next 10 years, you think you're going to get married, say, in 2 or 3 years, and you think you're going to have kids 2 or 3 years after that. The house you buy today needs to accommodate that future lifestyle situation. If otherwise, you'll find yourself in a home you're going to have to sell, and if you have to sell it soon, well, who knows what the property value will be, and the expenses associated with buying and selling will wipe out any potential gains that might occur. And so a home is a long-term thing. So yes, as Brandon says, as you've pointed out, an inexpensive home as the least expensive home that meets your lifestyle needs.
Okay.
And which will sustain those needs for at least a 7 to 10 year period.
Okay. And then the second part, getting the biggest mortgage you can on it, what
Correct.
you meant by that is putting the least amount down that you possibly can.
Yes,
So
and,
that you
and we will allow for the argument about PMI, private mortgage insurance. In other words, very often you have to put down 20% in order to avoid PMI. Okay, we'll live with that because that's a reasonable expense to avoid. So going with a 20% down payment or less is the way to go.
Okay.
So with interest rates as low as they are, quick, hurry, before rates rise much more, grab that 30-year fixed rate loan because you'll never have a chance to do it again.
Okay, and then 40-year mortgages. Back in 2007 on the DVD, you said you're going to start seeing them more and more, but here we are 6 years later, and I don't feel like they've become quite as...
And it's because of the credit crisis of 2008, which occurred a year after that video. We were beginning to see 40-year mortgages, even 90-year mortgages become available on the marketplace in 2007. Those products have gone by the wayside as a result of the reforms following the credit crisis of 2008. So it's generally not something that you see, 40-year, 50-year mortgages anymore.
Can I squeeze one more in?
Sure.
Could, today's adjustable rates really go way up beyond what today's fixed rates are?
Corey, you're right. Today, you're not gaining that much to get an adjustable rate mortgage. With the fixed rates as low as they are, as long as you're going to stay in that house, do the 30-year fixed.
Yeah, if you're buying a home that you're not going to be in for 7 years,
Right.
then you shouldn't be buying that home. So ultimately, an adjustable rate loan doesn't make sense if you're buying new.
Right.
Okay. Thank you very, very much.
And that is the key point, because people have argued that, gee, Edelman says get a big mortgage, and they assume I'm also referring to a big house, an expensive house. And Corey nailed it. Get a cheap house with a big mortgage. That's the key to real estate success. Adam, welcome to the program.
Hey, once you're already in a Roth, are you stuck, or is there any options to move that around, or what do you do once you're already in a Roth?
Adam, tell us, when did you put the money into the Roth you're referring to?
Oh, gosh, this started, I was probably in high school.
Okay.
Putting a little bit in at a time.
So over a period of years.
No, you're stuck with the Roth, but that's okay. If you had converted to a Roth within the last calendar year or so, forcing you to pay taxes, you could have until October 15th to recharacterize it. But once you've got the Roth, it's not that you want to do anything differently with it. We would just want to analyze, do you want to keep contributing more money to the Roth as opposed to something that's going to get you a tax deduction today?
Now, let's keep in mind, the Roth doesn't increase your wealth. All it does is accelerate how fast you pay the tax.
And it may have been that the Roth was the best thing Adam could fund, because he said he funded it at a very young age.
Which means his income might have been low.
Right. And that's ideal. The Roth is ideal for young people who have very low income that a tax deduction, pre-tax contribution really isn't going to be any help to them.
It's worth elaborating on that point. If you're in the 15% tax bracket or less, we do encourage the Roth IRA.
Right.
Okay, fair enough.
How can you profit from some of your worst financial mistakes? Simple. Just take the stage at the DC Improv.
I made a full student loan payment last month. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. You guys understand. Like, I found out they knew more about my life than I did. I got a phone call from this guy named John. He goes, hey, my name is John from Sally Mae. I want to tell you how much money you owe us. But before I do, I got to ask you security questions to verify that it's you. Pretty serious, John. Let's do it. This is when I found out he knew more about my life than I did. He goes, how many brothers and sisters does your father have? All right, John, let's go with, yeah, okay, so then, let me get a hint real quick, John. Let's go with my answer is, who's my father? Like, I don't even know. How about this, John? Since you know where he is, he owes me 18 years worth of money. We're even. I can go to college 14 more years now.
And I think the problem people are having today with money obviously has to do with the fact that people are unemployed. Can I give everybody a job hunting tip? Lie on your resume. Everybody does it. I did it. I got away with it in a job interview. The guy never figured anything out. It was great. He goes, well, looking at your resume, I noticed in 1974, you were a member of the Apollo Moon Crew. In 1982, you won the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, that's just great, because you're the kind of a guy we're looking for here at Pizza Hut. And don't you hate job interviews? They ask you stupid questions. What do you plan to bring to this job? My lunch. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? In the bar across the street. Why'd you leave your last job? They changed the locks on me. I swear this happened to me in a job interview. The guy says to me, in the past, we've caught some of our employees stealing. So I said, I swear you'll never catch me.
If you could ask a financial advisor just one question, what would it be? Here's one we hear from a lot of people. What do people find most intimidating about money?
I think when you show them the money and you show them the financial plan, the reality really hits them. You show them the hard dollars. I do it in a very soft way so I don't shock them. But it is very revealing for most people, and I think that's why they stay away from financial planning. Some people just don't want to know.
They're a little bit afraid of admitting what they've already either done or not done. They are, again, anxious about whether the news they get when they come in and we've done our financial projections is just going to be awful news. And at the end of the day, that's typically not what they find. It's typically not as bad as they think. And I think that's just human nature, is you're going to do a little catastrophizing about what's coming.
If you're like most of us, you've had moments in your life you'd rather forget. But every bit of what's happened to you, financial successes, personal tragedies, has led you to where you are today. So if you're stuck in the past, how do you move forward? Here's my wife and author, Ric Edelman, with The Other Side of Money.
Acceptance. It's about being here now, not dwelling on the past and not worrying about the future. If we don't like something, we want to change it. And I don't think life is supposed to be like that. The difficult pieces in life come. We lose jobs, we lose family members. Our family members get sick. We can either not accept that change and try to continually go back to how it was, or we can accept it and make it a little bit easier to move forward. What can't we accept? Write 3 things down and then take those lists and burn them. Just say, look, this is my time to let this go. We can just accept the world as it is now, accept our lives as it is now, accept ourselves as we are now. That's what makes us happy. That's what brings the balance in.
Thanks, Jean. She is so right. In order to begin to build a new financial future, we have to let go of the baggage from our past. And some final words from this episode. If you've got a lot of equity in your home, put it to work. All work and no play can be bad for you, so remember to live a little. That's the true definition of rich. And that is the truth about money. See you next time. To learn more about the topics we discussed on this episode and a chance to ask your questions, visit our website at truthaboutmoneytv.com. And stay connected by liking us on Facebook and following us on Twitter.